So Chris Rock is doing his rounds, and, you know, he's a comedian, right? So, like George Carlin says, the point of a comedian is to draw the line and then to deliberately cross over it. Chris Rock, he made headlines, which is actually, it's Breitbart, but they were saying, Chris Rock blames the Democrats for their COVID-19 thing. He was just saying that the impeachment thing had distracted, and, you know, that's a point, and I don't know if it's his main point. Chris Rock said a whole bunch of things. Chris Rock said that the Obama presidency was progress for white people, not black people. He's right. He's absolutely right. How white America has treated black folks throughout white America's history has been the ruler for white people. This is, you know, can white people ever treat other people like human beings? Is it possible for whites to treat others? So Barack Obama getting elected president, that was progress for white folks, and, you know, only for just the illusion of not being racist, but it didn't help black folks, it didn't help white folks. Not sure if Obama really did anything. He got us Donald Trump, right? So Chris Rock says that blacks are being abused by mentally handicapped people. White supremacists, he says, are mentally handicapped people. And what black folks are trying to do is they're trying to get them past their mental handicaps to see that all people are equal. Again, Chris Rock is 100%. Is it progress, Rock asked, when a wife beater stops beating his wife? Well, yeah, actually, you know, that is progress if a wife beater stops beating his wife. But I guess what he's trying to say is that the wife beater needs to move on, get their own house, and live their own life. But that's all he's talking about is black people now, the relationship with white people is that they're being beat less. And they're sitting there talking about how the Democrats know that it's, you know, you got a 5-year-old kid who's in charge of Imperial China. So you got a 5-year-old, you know he's a 5-year-old child. You know, and he's not the one that's actually in power. The people behind him are the one that's actually in power. So we got rid of the bullies. This is fantastic. So Chris Rock said, look what happened. In school, we got rid of all the bullies, and then the real bullies showed up, and then nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how to handle him, the cast of apprentices running the world. And then he talked about how Bush was so bad that eventually Obama, right, they said, maybe this black guy has all the answers. People miss how much contribution to black history, black progress, black revolution George W. Bush added to it. George W. Bush was a black revolutionary. You have Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, George W. Bush. That's Chris Rock. That's Chris Rock. So the fact that people are only pointing out that he criticized the Democrats, oh, how dare he criticize the Democrats with the impeachment thing. It's just an aside. It's just like one little comment off to the side. It's like the main, you know, he's sitting there talking about we need to practice getting rid of bullies, okay? When a real bully shows up, what are you supposed to do, right? He's supposed to knock him down. He's supposed to get rid of him. Then he's talking about 5-year-old kid being in charge of Imperial China, how you actually have the power behind the throne or the people that's actually in power. So that's who's in power now. It's not Donald, right, that little petulant child. He's just, he represents people that's behind him. Before it's clear, right, with Dick Cheney, with George W. Bush, Dick Cheney was the power behind the throne, but who's the power behind Donald? You know, but behind Donald's throne. And then he also kind of just saying he's the 5-year-old kid. You expect the 5-year-old kid to act, you know, petulant. And, but he also, you know, I'm not sure about the whole black folks and the beating the wife. If you want those two, the wife beater and the wife to, you know, rectify their situation, then yes, they need to, you know, he needs to stop beating her. That is progress. Now, it's not, you know, the end goal is not the promised land. It's not, but it is progress. And so I'm not for sure exactly what he's talking about there. But he was just on point with, you know, so many things. He's on point when he talks about how white supremacists, racist pieces of shit, they're mentally handicapped. They're mentally handicapped. They look at another person, another, you know, basically another variety of human, a human being that has, you know, different hair and has, you know, just slight variations, slight differences, and they shriek in horror. racism is bullshit, but it shows, you know, when it comes down to, what's his name? Clayton Bigsby? No. Not Clayton Bigsby, but James Baldwin. James Baldwin said that he knew that he wasn't the N-word, but he knew he wasn't the N-word. So where did this N-word come from? It's a reflection of the white supremacists. Who is the actual N-word? The white supremacist is the N-word. He's putting his crappiness on someone else, his fear and his ignorance, and he's projecting his own bullshit on other people. So, you know, he's a comedian. I think when he was talking about George W. Bush being a black revolutionary, he was just talking about the push back to George Bush. And so if we think about that, the push back to Donald Trump, not only should we get, you know, a Barack Obama, but we could have easily got a Bernie Sanders. In fact, the Democratic Party has really put, you know, everything in jeopardy by putting forward Joe Biden. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, they took the lion's share of all the votes, 40 to 50%. Joe Biden only had, you know, only 20 or so, so he was third, you know, for the lion's share of the different votes. And there's no enthusiasm. He's not exciting. He's barely there. Joe is barely there. The people talk about, you know, the cognitive decline and all that shit. They're both really old fucking men, so they're both barely there. And so, you know, you can only be for Joe as far as he can be for himself. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that the pushback for George W. Bush was, you know, Barack Obama. So the pushback for Donald Trump could have been Gandhi. We could have got Martin Luther King Jr. We could have got ourselves a Bernie Sanders. And I feel like that's probably the dream that will never die. You had Teddy Kennedy that always talked about the dream that will never die. Apparently having a JFK, having a regular, you know, a regular person become president. A president we all sort of look up to and admire. That's what Teddy Kennedy was talking about. But for my generation, I think for Americans, having a socialist become president, that's a dream that will never die. And, you know, we can work on it in the states and in the local areas. But the fact that we've never had a socialist means we've never had a heart. We've never had a heart. We've never had a balanced conversation. We've always been talking how we're all just right-wing, you know, neoliberal, capitalist, just, you know, fundamentally capitalist through and through. Everything's, Milton Friedman, in order to be a capitalist, you have to know Milton Friedman. And I don't hear Americans talk about Milton Friedman as if he's, you know, a god. You have, you know, academia, and he's, you know, venerated enough, but I'm just saying that he's not discussed by the layman. He's not talked on the street. If we're all capitalist, then you have to start out with Milton Friedman. If you don't know Milton Friedman, then I don't think you understand capitalism what's so goddamn motherfucking ever. So yeah, those are the, you know, comments that Chris Rock had said recently. It's 3:20 in the p.m. I'm John Masters, Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. Peace!